You've been lied to your entire life. They told you to play fair. They told you that good things come to those who wait, that honesty is the best policy, that karma will handle your enemies. And while you sat there waiting, playing by the rules like a good little soldier, someone with half your talent but twice your cunning took everything you deserved. Your promotion, your opportunity, your respect. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. The world is not a courtroom where justice is served equally. It's an arena. And in that arena, the ones who understand power are the ones who sit on the throne. Today, I'm handing you 10 brutal, unforgiving lessons from the mind of Niccolò Machiavelli. Lessons that most people will never hear, and even fewer will have the stomach to apply. If you're still playing fair, you're playing to lose. Lock in. This changes everything. Lesson number 1. Stop playing fair. The world doesn't reward the righteous. Let me tell you something that will sting before it sets you free. Fairness is a concept invented by the weak to restrain the strong. Read that again. Let it settle in your bones. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. The man who plays fair in an unfair game doesn't earn respect. He earns a grave. You've been conditioned since childhood to follow the rules, to wait your turn, to believe that the universe keeps score. It doesn't. The universe is blind, cold, and completely indifferent to your sense of justice. The people who rise in this world are not the most moral. They are the most strategic. They understand that the game has rules on the surface and completely different rules underneath. And the ones underneath are the only ones that matter. Look around you. The kind man gets overlooked. The honest man gets manipulated. The patient man watches his dream rot, while someone bolder, someone less afraid of being judged, walks right past him and takes it. This isn't cynicism. This is observation. Machiavelli didn't write about how the world should be. He wrote about how the world is. And until you accept that difference, you will keep losing to people who are not smarter than you, not more talented than you, but simply more willing to do what you won't. Playing fair is a luxury for people who've already won. For everyone else, it's a chain. So here's your first lesson. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for your turn. Stop believing that someone somewhere is going to tap you on the shoulder and say you deserve it. Nobody is coming to save you. You either learn to move like a strategist or you get moved like a pawn. There is no middle ground, not anymore. Lesson number 2. Control your emotions before they control you. Every empire that ever fell from the inside, and every man who ever destroyed himself did it the same way. He let his emotions drive. Anger made him react too fast. Fear made him retreat too soon. Love made him trust the wrong person. Pride made him blind to the knife already aimed at his back. Machiavelli warned us centuries ago, the man who cannot master himself will be mastered by everyone around him. Your emotions are not your strength, they are your most exploitable weakness. And every person you've ever met who wanted something from you knew exactly which emotion to pull. The manipulator pulls your guilt, the narcissist pulls your empathy, the competitor pulls your anger, and every single time you react, you hand them the steering wheel of your life. A powerful man does not suppress his emotions, he governs them. There is a critical difference. Suppression is denial. Governance is control. You feel the rage, but you choose silence. You feel the fear, but you move forward anyway. You feel the betrayal, but you calculate your response instead of exploding. That pause between what you feel and what you do, that is where power lives. The Stoics called it the inner citadel. Machiavelli called it political intelligence. I call it the difference between a man who commands rooms and a man who gets commanded. Start watching yourself like a hawk. The next time someone provokes you, don't react. Observe. Ask yourself what they gain if you lose control. Because 9 times out of 10, your emotional reaction is exactly what they are engineering. They want you loud. They want you reckless. They want you predictable. Deny them that satisfaction. Become the man who feels everything but reveals nothing. That is not coldness. That is war-level discipline. Lesson number 3. Learn the art of strategic silence. The loudest person in the room is almost never the most powerful. Remember that. Engrave it into your mind like scripture. The man who talks too much reveals his plans, his insecurities, his fears, and his next move. all without being asked. He thinks he's impressing people. In reality, he's handing ammunition to everyone listening. Machiavelli understood that silence is not emptiness. Silence is a loaded weapon. When you speak less, people are forced to pay attention more. They begin to wonder what you're thinking. They start filling in the blanks with their own assumptions, their own fears, their own respect. You become a mystery, and mystery in the game of power is more valuable than any speech ever written. Think about the men who intimidate you. They don't talk the most. They observe. They wait. They let others empty their magazines of words into the air while they sit back and collect intelligence. Every word someone speaks around you is data. Their tone tells you their confidence. Their subject tells you their obsession. Their volume tells you their insecurity. But you only hear these things when your own mouth is shut. Most people are so desperate to be heard that they never learn how to listen. And those who never listen will never see the betrayal coming. Strategic silence also protects your plans. The moment you announce your goals to the wrong room, you've invited sabotage. Not everyone who smiles at your vision wants to see it succeed. Some of them are memorizing your blueprint so they can build it before you do. Others are waiting for you to fail so they can feel better about their own stagnation. Guard your mouth like you guard your life. Speak when it serves you. Speak when it advances your position. But never speak just to fill silence, because that silence was already working in your favor. Lesson number 4. Make people need you, then you'll never be discarded. Here is a truth most people learn too late and usually through pain. Loyalty means nothing without leverage. You can be the most faithful, the most dedicated, the most hard-working person in any room, and the moment you become replaceable, you become disposable. That's not cruelty. That's mechanics. Machiavelli said it plainly. A wise man makes himself necessary to others so that his removal would cause more damage than his presence ever could. That is the real definition of job security, of relationship security, of power security. Stop trying to be liked. Start trying to be needed. There is a massive difference between the two. Being liked is fragile. One rumor, one misunderstanding, one shift in mood, and your likability vanishes overnight. But being needed, that is structural. That is foundational. When you possess a skill, a connection, a knowledge base, or a position that others depend on, you don't have to beg for a seat at the table. They will build the table around you. Look at every relationship in your life right now. Ask yourself honestly, if you disappeared tomorrow, how much would it cost them? If the answer is nothing, you have no power in that dynamic. None. You are decoration, not architecture. The cold reality is this: people don't keep you around because they love you. They keep you around because losing you would be expensive. So become expensive to lose. Learn what no one else wants to learn. Solve what no one else can solve. Carry a weight that would crush the operation if you dropped it. Make your absence a crisis. That is not manipulation. That is intelligence. The man who can be easily replaced will be easily forgotten, but the man who makes himself the cornerstone, he doesn't chase power. Power chases him. Lesson number 5. Study everyone. Trust no one. Trust is the most expensive currency you will ever spend, and most people hand it out like loose change to strangers on the street. They trust because it feels good. They trust because they want to believe that people are inherently kind. They trust because questioning someone's motives feels uncomfortable, and that discomfort is exactly what gets them destroyed. Machiavelli lived in a world of betrayal, backstabbing, and political murder, and the one lesson he hammered into every page was this: men will always act in their own self-interest, especially when they smile at you. So stop trusting people based on their words. Start studying people based on their patterns. Watch what a man does when he has nothing to gain from you. Watch how someone speaks about others when those others aren't in the room. Watch who only appears when you're winning and vanishes when you're bleeding. These are not random behaviors. These are confessions. Every person around you is telling you exactly who they are. You're just not paying attention because you'd rather feel comfortable than feel safe. A Machiavellian mind doesn't hate people. It reads them. It studies their motivations, their triggers, their loyalties, and their breaking points, not to harm them, but to never be harmed by them. You don't need to become paranoid. You need to become perceptive. There is a difference between suspecting everyone and understanding everyone. Suspicion is weakness dressed as caution. Perception is power dressed as calm. Keep your circle tight, your observation sharp, and your trust locked behind a gate that requires proof, not promises, to enter. The man who trusts blindly will bleed repeatedly, but the man who studies the room before he speaks, who reads the players before he plays, that man doesn't get betrayed. He sees it coming 3 moves ahead. Lesson number 6. Strike hard, strike once, never give a wounded enemy time. Machiavelli wrote something that most people read and flinch at. If you must hurt a man, hurt him so severely that he can never retaliate. That sounds brutal, that sounds extreme, and that is exactly why most people lose. They wound when they should finish. They give second chances to people who are already planning their revenge. They show mercy to enemies who interpret mercy as weakness. Understand this clearly. A wounded enemy is the most dangerous creature on earth. You embarrassed him but didn't remove him. You challenged him but let him keep his platform. You exposed him but left him with enough power to rebuild. Now he's not just your opponent. He's your opponent with a vendetta. And a man driven by humiliation fights with nothing left to lose. When you decide to act against someone who has wronged you, who has threatened your position, or who has made themselves your obstacle, do not hesitate and do not go halfway. Half measures are the graveyard of powerful men. Either commit fully or don't act at all. This doesn't mean violence. This means strategy. If someone undermines your business, don't just complain. Outmaneuver them so completely that they can never compete again. If someone betrays your trust, don't just distance yourself. Remove every access point they had to your life, your resources, and your information. Leave no door cracked. Leave no window open. The mistake kind-hearted men make is believing that restraint always equals strength. Sometimes it does, but sometimes restraint is just fear wearing a noble mask. Know the difference. When the moment demands decisive action, you act with precision, with totality, and without apology. You don't warn the storm, you become it. One strike, final, complete. That is how empires protect themselves. That is how you protect yours. Lesson number 7. Wear masks. Control what the world sees. You are not obligated to show the world who you really are. In fact, doing so is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of virtue is often more useful than virtue itself. That doesn't mean be fake. It means be strategic about which version of yourself you reveal and to whom. Every great leader in history wore masks. The general who was terrified before battle showed his soldiers only confidence. The king who was falling apart behind closed doors showed his enemies only strength. The negotiator who was desperate for the deal showed the other side only indifference. These weren't acts of dishonesty. They were acts of survival. The world doesn't respond to who you are. It responds to who it perceives you to be. And perception is a game that can be mastered if you stop being emotionally attached to being authentic at all times. Authenticity is a beautiful concept, but applied without wisdom, it becomes self-sabotage. You don't tell your competitor your weakness. You don't show your enemy your fear. You don't reveal your strategy to someone who hasn't earned your trust. You wear the mask that the moment demands. In a negotiation, you wear calm. In a confrontation, you wear authority. In a room full of snakes, you wear something that makes them believe you are the most venomous one there, whether you are or not. Machiavelli called this controlled deception. Dark psychology calls it impression management. I call it intelligence. The man who lets the world see everything is the man the world learns to control. But the man who chooses what to reveal, when to reveal it, and to whom, that man becomes unreadable. And an unreadable man is an uncontrollable man. That is the mask. Wear it well. Lesson number 8. Turn enemies into tools. Most people see an enemy and feel one of two things: fear or rage. Both reactions are useless. Fear makes you retreat from someone you should be studying. Rage makes you attack someone you should be using. Machiavelli saw enemies differently. He saw them as raw material, unrefined, dangerous, but full of potential if handled with intelligence. Your enemy carries something invaluable that your friends never will. Honesty about your weaknesses. Your friends will sugarcoat. Your allies will stay silent to keep the peace. But your enemy, he will point at every crack in your armor without hesitation. That information is gold if you have the discipline to use it instead of being destroyed by it. Listen to what your enemies say about you. Strip away the venom and examine what's left. If there's truth in their attack, they just handed you a blueprint for self-improvement that no mentor ever would. But beyond that, enemies can be repositioned. A man who opposes you publicly can sometimes be brought closer, not through friendship, but through mutual benefit. Machiavelli knew that alliances born from necessity are often stronger than those born from affection. When you give an enemy a reason to work with you rather than against you, you don't just neutralize a threat, you absorb his power into your own structure. This requires ego death. You cannot convert enemies into tools if your pride demands their destruction. Sometimes the most powerful move is extending a hand to the man who swore to bring you down, not because you forgive him, but because his position, his resources, or his influence now serves your vision better than his elimination would. Weak men collect enemies like scars and wear them with bitterness. Powerful men collect enemies like chess pieces and place them exactly where they become useful. Stop fighting everyone. Start positioning them. Lesson number 9. Build an empire in silence. Let success make the noise. There is an epidemic among ambitious men, the addiction to announcement. They get an idea and they post it. They start a project and they broadcast it. They take one step forward and they tell the entire world, as if the journey is already complete. And then they wonder why their momentum dies, why their motivation fades, and why people who once cheered for them are now quietly hoping they fail. Machiavelli understood something that social media has made people forget. Silence is the ultimate incubator of power. When you build in silence, you eliminate 3 of the most dangerous threats to your success. The first is interference. The moment you announce your plans, you invite opinions from people who have never built anything. Their doubts, their unsolicited advice, their subtle discouragement. It seeps into your subconscious like poison. You start second-guessing moves that needed full commitment. You start editing your vision to match other people's comfort zones. And slowly, the fire you had gets smothered by voices that had no right to speak into your life in the first place. The second threat is competition. When you reveal your strategy openly, you give your competitors a head start they didn't earn. They see your blueprint, they study your moves, and they either copy you or counter you before you've even gained traction. The third threat is the most subtle and the most deadly: expectation. When you tell the world what you're building, you create a clock. People start watching, people start measuring, and every day that passes without visible results becomes a silent judgment that weighs on your shoulders. That pressure doesn't fuel greatness. It breeds anxiety, shortcuts, and premature decisions. So build in the dark. Let your work compound in silence where no one can see it, touch it, or corrupt it. Let them wonder where you went. Let them assume you gave up. Let them write you off completely, because the most dangerous man in any arena is not the one making noise. It's the one who disappeared for a season and came back as something nobody was prepared for. That is the Machiavellian way. You don't announce the war. You win it before the enemy knows it started. You don't chase applause during the process. You let the results speak with a volume that no words could ever match. Silence is not absence. Silence is preparation. And when you finally step into the light, make sure your shadow is so large it covers everyone who ever doubted you. Lesson number 10. Become the man they cannot break. Everything I've told you tonight leads to this final lesson. This is the summit. This is where the philosophy ends and the transformation begins. Machiavelli spent his life studying princes, generals, popes, and kings, men who held empires in their hands, and men who watched those empires crumble through their fingers. And across every victory and every downfall, one pattern remained constant. The men who survived were not the strongest. They were not the richest. They were not even the smartest. They were the ones who could not be broken. That is the final evolution. You can master silence, strategy, emotional control, and perception. But if you can be broken, none of it matters. Life will test you in ways no book can prepare you for. You will be betrayed by someone you would have died for. You will lose something you built with years of sacrifice in a single moment of chaos. You will stand in rooms where no one believes in you, where no one respects you, where the weight of failure presses so hard against your chest that quitting feels like the only sane option. And in that moment, that exact moment, your entire destiny will be decided. Not by talent, not by strategy, but by whether you can absorb the hit and keep moving forward without losing your mind or your mission. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a river. When it floods, it destroys everything in its path. But the man who builds walls and channels before the flood comes, that man survives while others drown. That is what this lesson demands of you. Build yourself into something that cannot be swept away. Build a mind so disciplined that chaos becomes just another obstacle, not an identity. Build a will so conditioned that pain becomes fuel instead of a finish line. Build a reputation so solid that even your enemies have to respect what you've created. The unbreakable man is not emotionless. He feels loss, he feels doubt, he feels exhaustion. But he has trained himself to keep those things in a room they can never escape from. He processes them on his terms, in his time, and he never, ever lets the world see him crumble. That is Machiavellian power at its highest form. Not manipulation, not deception, not cruelty, survival, dominance over the self. A man who is a fortress from the inside cannot be conquered from the outside. So I'll ask you this, are you that man yet? If not, you now have the blueprint. 10 lessons, 10 weapons, forged in the mind of a man who understood power better than anyone who ever lived. Now it's your turn to apply them. If this video lit something inside you that refuses to go out, drop one phrase in the comments. I am the storm they didn't see coming. Let that be your declaration. Let that be your line in the sand. And if you've made it this far, do me one thing. Hit that like button. It tells me you want more of this. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another lesson that the world doesn't want you to learn. And turn on that notification bell, because the next time I speak, I want you in the room before anyone else. This is your era. Now go build something they can't ignore.